AFC Bournemouth having a proper football firm sounds about as likely as finding a Greggs in Monaco. But hear me out, because the Bournemouth casual element are genuinely one of the most unexpected stories in English football violence. We're talking about a seaside town where your nan goes for retirement, suddenly producing a mob that had bigger clubs properly rattled. Mental. So it's 1987, right? Bournemouth's still a tiny club, playing in front of 3 men and a dog most weeks, and the town's full of pensioners, tourists, and lads flogging ice creams on the beach. Not exactly fertile ground for hooliganism. But that's the thing about the 80s. Every town had its crew, and Bournemouth weren't about to miss out on the fun just because they had deck chairs instead of dockyards. The casual scene was massive by then. You'd finish your shift at the amusement arcade or wherever, get yourself down to JD Sports, nick yourself some Lacoste, bit of Stone Island if you were flush, then meet the boys outside the ground. No colours, no scarves, just pure stealth. That was the whole point. Old Bill couldn't spot you in the crowd if you looked like you were off to watch Wimbledon instead of smash it with Millwall. The Bournemouth casual element proper kicked off in the late 80s when they got promoted and started playing bigger clubs. Suddenly you've got Portsmouth coming down the coast, Southampton rolling in, and these Bournemouth lads thinking, right, we can't let our town get taken over by this lot. Fair play to them really. Nothing says territorial pride like defending your patch of sand and overpriced fish and chips. Here's the mad bit though. Because Bournemouth was so small and unexpected, they had this element of surprise. Bigger firms would rock up thinking it's going to be a day out at the seaside, maybe catch some rays, easy 3 points, bit of hassle with the locals if they're lucky. Then they'd get off the train and suddenly there's 50 lads in pristine aquascutum waiting for them outside the station. The look on their faces must have been priceless. They had proper offs with Portsmouth, which makes sense because that's the closest big rival. South Coast derby innit? These two mobs absolutely despised each other. You'd get the Pompey lads coming down thinking they own the place, and the Bournemouth boys would be having none of it. Dean Court would be bouncing, but the real action was always in the town centre beforehand or after the match down by the pier. The 90s were peak time for them. Football casuals everywhere were getting more organised, more sophisticated. You weren't just turning up for a ruck anymore. You'd have meeting points, scouts, mobile phones once they became a thing. The Bournemouth lads were no different. They'd arrange meets in car parks, industrial estates, anywhere away from the old Bill's cameras. Proper cat and mouse stuff. What made them different was the sheer audacity of it all. This is a club that spent decades in the lower leagues, playing in a tiny ground, and their firms going up against Wolves, Cardiff, Leeds when they were in the same divisions. Absolute madmen. But that was the beauty of it. Nobody expected little Bournemouth to have a mob, so they got away with murder. Well, not actual murder, but you know what I mean. The casual dress code was religion to these lads. Saturday morning ritual, up at 9, full English down the calf, then straight into town to check what's new in the shops. Sergio Tacchini tracksuit top, lovely. Pair of Adidas trim trabs, even better. It wasn't just about the fighting, it was about looking better than the other firm while you did it. Bournemouth lads took that seriously. You'd rather get your head kicked in wearing genuine Stone Island than win a row in a fake. They're still about now, though it's nothing like the old days. CCTV everywhere, banning orders, undercover coppers, football intelligence units. The whole game changed. But back in the day, Bournemouth casual element were causing proper chaos in a town most people associate with afternoon tea and retirement homes. That's the British way, innit? Absolute carnage wrapped up in a nice seaside postcard. Never underestimate the small town firms. They've got everything to prove and nothing to lose.